Firewatch. Man, I've heard so many controversial things about this game through the grapevine that I had to give it a shot. So, what exactly is Firewatch? Well, if you want to put a label on it that doesn't sound insulting, I guess you'd have to call it an interactive drama. It's a novel transcribed into game form. Everyone has been asking me to play this game. And by everyone, I mean the 3 people that actually still tweet me. Hashtag follow me on Twitter, @IndieCriticShow. Well, what did I think about this game? Well, I came into it completely blind from everything. I missed all the promo material, skipped all the trailers, and the only thing that I really saw about the game was on the Unity 3D forums, and it looked like some cookie-cutter survival game, so I just called her quits and didn't pay attention to it anymore. And then the game finally came out, and boy, let me tell you, it's not some crappy survival game. This is one of the most beautifully crafted worlds that I've ever seen. It's an emotional roller coaster ride, only fit to be played without any prior knowledge of the game. If you're still keen on proceeding on with the review, prepare yourself for a comprehensive look at Firewatch. You're watching The Indie Critic. Firewatch is the debut game from Campo Santo, a newly formed studio made by veteran developers of Telltale, 2K, and Double Fine Productions. The game follows Henry, whose wife was recently diagnosed with Alzheimer's and was moved back to Australia to live with her parents, leaving Henry living alone in Boulder, Colorado. Henry and his wife Julia met in probably the most American way ever. They met at a university bar, where drunken Henry sweet talks Julia about cheeseburgers, and a week later, they're dating. Not a lot of backstory on how they got started dating, but cheeseburgers obviously played a huge role in it. Through the next 15 minutes or so of the game, you're given a ton of exposition, from the dog you choose to how you deal with Julia's Alzheimer's. There are a lot of options here, and I'm not too sure that they even affect the story. Sure, they changed the exposition parts a little bit in the background, but honestly, it doesn't affect anything further on into the story. The only option that I do recommend you choose is frolicking like a Victoria's Secret model, because of course I'd pick that option. The backstory on why Henry takes the job is both heartwarming, sad, threatening, and a little bit depressing. The real gameplay starts in these little blurbs that you get in between the initial prologue. Little bits of you getting into your car, walking about in the forest, looking at butterflies, and seeing deer jump into the forest. I'm such a fan of these games that I literally walk around every single part of them and inspect everything. Like seeing the no fireworks sign at the billboards at the start of the game. It's incredible. It feels like as if they were put there just for me to find. Now you arrive at your destination, climbing up to the stairs to your new home for the summer. When you open the door and throw your pack on the ground, you're greeted by a lovely voice from the radio. Her name is Delilah, your boss. Throughout the game, you and Delilah use these radios to communicate, from her giving you small tasks about inspecting some wires, to you and her having these deep personal conversations about you and your wife, and her ex-boyfriend, and even your dog. This was by far my favorite mechanic of the game. I inspect every single thing in every game that I play. So when I realized that I could talk to Delilah about almost everything in the game, I was hooked. I knew this game was perfect for me.
They left their packs tied up here.
Don't fuck with them. The last thing we need is some hikers filing a report about harassment.
Oh, look, they decided to have a campfire, too.
You know, they color-coded the fire danger signs in case people were illiterate. But I guess that doesn't take into account just plain stupid, does it?
And Delilah isn't just some stupid character built into a game to give some background information. She feels like a real person. From the way that she has these personal conversations with Henry and has these heart-to-heart moments. It really illuminates the 3 dimensions of these 2 characters. We've hardly even talked about this world yet. And oh my god, this world is spectacular. It has this great like low poly watercolor look. It looks like a better version of a game that I'm working on right now. So it's technically an open world, but with the missions you're given, there's only like 1 or 2 different ways to get to the place. Which, I mean, it makes sense since like trails and stuff through forests. But I have to say that it does feel a little bit linear. But I mean, what are you going to do? It's a story game. It has to have a little bit of structure here and there. The game has just enough of an open world theme that you don't feel as if you're being shoved into a small corridor that you can hardly deviate from. Which basically is every single modern day shooter. I mean, they're basically just glorified on-rail shooter games now. Your interpretations of the ending will vary depending on your view of the relationship of Henry and Delilah. But I'm not going to dive too much further into that in this episode. But make sure to tune in on next Thursday for Theory Talk, where we're going to dive into the deeper, darker undertones of Firewatch. A lot of people didn't like this game, saying that it just kind of stops, and well, I'm gonna have to disagree with them. People are used to Modern Warfare 37, which ends in some cliffhanger ending, blown out of proportion mission with explosions. Firewatch isn't like that. Like I said at the beginning of the show, it's more like a novel transcribed into game form, and it ends like a novel. Firewatch does have a climax, and the part that people don't really like is that it had a falling action afterwards. You walk to the helicopter leaving the area. It leaves you with a lot of time to think about the story and what actually unfolded there. Maybe even making you think that the helicopter may or may not leave you there. You have a heart-to-heart talk with Delilah before you go, and that's just it. You go. You leave to try to put your life back together. And I like that. This game's about loneliness and introspection, not about shooty bang bang and explosions. So how do I rate this game? Well, it's a game specifically built for me and my likings. Everything is perfect, from the amazing story, the awesome art, and the great soundtrack. Everything is perfect. And I have to give this game a 10 out of 10. And thank you so much for creating such a great game that I'm actually going to play through another 3 or 4 times. I actually enjoyed it that much. Listen, if you're looking for a challenging game with hundreds of hours of replayability, you're not going to find that in Firewatch. But you're watching this review. And that's not why you play games. You play games because they're art. You play games to experience them and be involved in the story. And this is the perfect game for you. Firewatch is an unconventional game, and a lot of people aren't going to like it because it doesn't have shooty bang bang. This game is full of surprises, and it needs to be experienced firsthand. So go and grab your copy. It's $20. That's not even that much money. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching episode number 4 of the Indie Critic. Make sure to check back next Sunday for the next episode, which is going to be on Layers of Fear. Also, check back on Thursday for the Theory Talk video, which is going to be about Firewatch, but the deeper undertones of the game, which is a little bit spooky, and you guys should definitely check out. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week on the next installment of the Indie Critic. Thanks for watching. If you're still keen on proceeding on with the review, stick on. Fuck. If you're still keen on proceeding on with the review, oh my god, why did I write this? I can't even fucking say it.